Hi there, I'm Clarence with
Hi.
Compass.
Hi, everybody. I am Sonia Huang with The Long Story. How are you, Clarence?
So I'm fine. So we do this every month, the second Thursday of every month. You get a chance to ask questions. We're also asking questions that we get from our clients in terms of what's happening in the mortgage and also the real estate side on the market that we cover. So who looks like I got some questions available from my clients and Sonia, I forgot who was be going first. Is it me or you this
I,
time?
I do. I actually have
Okay.
some questions from my clients. And actually, I received your newsletter reminding us the spring forward is coming this Sunday. And that reminds me, and also my client was asking, like usually what we have learned that springtime before summer is the like more people, more buyers are coming out to buy. So I want to ask you, what is the current home value and what's the market update right now for buyers?
Okay, that's a good question. So, well, we probably saw some news that nationally that home values have declined over last year, month uh, January of this year versus January of last year. But
Mhm.
we start seeing some increase in home values throughout the county over a month over month. So there was so much energy, so much activity last year, carrying all the way to August, April, and home values decline, and we're now just going back up in terms of home values slowly from month over month. So we're probably seeing maybe 2 to 3% increase month over month compared to no right now, but year over year we're definitely a little bit lower.
Oh, I see. So that means like for buyers, it should be a good time to buy since.
Yeah, it can be, but you're also seeing a lot of buyer demand, pent-up buyer demand. That's the reason for probably see some home values monthly going up. It's definitely scared some buyers because they thought this is a chance to go see declining values, but it's the declining values compared to last year, not to last month. So I think that's where the biggest shock to some buyers is that their monthly values are going up, but the year over year it's a little bit it's down.
Right. So that means for buyers who are still waiting, you can see the comparison that you can provide. The value compared to year by year is actually a little bit more affordable, but month by month depends on the area. It could still be competitive. Like the
Yeah.
price can be higher due to demands, right?
Yeah, it could be demand, but keep in mind that if we're playing Monday, we're playing no not Monday football like the day after, where everybody after seeing the game, everybody's like, "Do we should have done this?" Because April was the peak of the market in Santa Clara County. Home values were up to 2 million,
Mm.
and it declined about 25% in the county from April to December. So if you're a home buyer, you're trying to get a good price, you missed that 6 months, but 3 to 4 months. So but we also had lower inventory levels compared to now. We also have a higher interest rate compared to now. So it's a give and take in terms of what the situation is because yeah, rates are a little bit better compared to a couple of months ago. Uh, um, but at the same time, home values are going up slowly compared to a couple of months ago. So, so I think that it's a great opportunity now because it's definitely a lot more affordable than last year. Is it
Mhm.
more affordable compared to December? That's a different story. I think that's a different story in terms of the price right now.
Got it.
Okay. So one of the questions I've been getting from some of my clients is, we're talking about, some buyers are concerned about trying to build a down payment for uh to buy a home. A lot of them trying to figure out getting 20% down. Some of them are worried about, getting money for the closing costs. What kind of program do you see programs out there that can help with either the down payment side, try to
Mhm.
help build that up, or provide assistance or help with paying for the closing costs?
Yes, thank you for that question. So it's a myth that most people think they have to save for 20% down payment to buy, but that's completely wrong. Most of the time, most people, they get into their house with just 10% down. And there are actually programs for as low as 3% down payment. But of course, for some people that they can qualify for down payment assistance program by the county or city or even state, they can get 3% down payment assistance from like all the sources. And like you mentioned earlier, that there are some city and organizations can provide closing cost assistance. So the bars can have their own down payment combined with closing costs, or if they can qualify, they can get down payment assistance program plus the closing cost assistance. So essentially, they don't have to pay anything out of their pocket. But for those programs, they need to have at least 1% their own reserve. So which some people, it might be hard for some people, but it's available for people who can qualify. And there are also some forgivable assistance program for closing costs or 3% down, but those are hard to get. It's usually in the beginning of the year, you need to apply for it and reserve the quota for that. So for that, there are more details to follow. So if anybody who are on this webinar and interested, let us know so we can help you to provide you more details.
Okay, and generally for those programs, where do they look for terms how to qualify folks? Is it a credit score, income level? You mentioned reserves. What's bring very broad strokes? What would a lot of these programs try to focus on in terms of how they qualify an individual?
So in the most important is the income qualification, but the income limit has been very generous nowadays. So Santa Clara County has an income limit for single borrower for 180,000 annual income. So people who have less than 180,000 annual income can qualify for down payment assistance program. And then the next criteria is the purchase price, how much they want to buy, and we need to calculate the debt ratio to see if they can qualify. And then the credit score. So credit score is not as critical as some people may think. So I think at least 680 credit score should be able to qualify for a down payment assistance program. Depends on who provides that. So income would be the most critical thing.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So now that we talk about buyers, my next question from my client is, when they are ready to make an offer, how do they make the offer more attractive for sellers to pick their offers?
Okay. It really depends if you're how young the listing is on the market, and also excuse me, how and if you're competing or not. Okay. So as an as an agent, it's usually before I even write up the offer, I usually talk with the listing agent in terms of what they are expecting for an offer. We want to make sure that it's enticing. We want to, so I can be able to provide that information. Let the buyer know. So this is what the seller expects, right, for an offer. Especially if you're in a multiple offer environment, and we're seeing more multiple offers these days for homes that have been on the market for less than 2 weeks. So if you're in a multiple offer environment, you definitely want to make sure that it's what the sellers are kind of looking for, which is something that can close fast, something that has very little things that the buyer can use to back out. So we call these contingencies, basically obligations the buyers are supposed to do in order to go forward with the transaction. For example, the buyer has an investigative contingency where they can investigate the property either physically or through research, like figure out if they can get insurance on the property, which is a big issue for some properties because like if you're a fire hazard zone and you find out you can't get insurance that's affordable, then you have an issue if you don't have that contingency in place. That's just one example. So sellers don't like that because things that the seller could back out for, a buyer could back out. In if it's houses in the market and there's potentially you're the only offer that the seller can consider, then there's probably a chance to negotiate in terms of trying to get some contingencies in place, safeguard basically some reassurances that that if buyer hits these things, that the buyer and meets the obligation, they can go forward, or if it hits the and doesn't look that great, they can back out. So we could be able to negotiate that if it's if the situation is correct. Sometimes you can be able to negotiate on the price if you're not competing, and if you're not and it's been sitting on the house on the market for a while. So sometimes we'll be able to negotiate as probably 5 to 10% below the list price sometimes. Because especially on the declining market, we're probably a chance to negotiate something closer to what the buyer would like in terms of pay for a home. So that's why we're that's the reason why it's not an easy answer to say what definitely would be, because it really depends exactly what's the situation that buyer's making that offer to the seller. If that buyer's in a multiple offer environment, or the buyer is the only one that's being considered.
Right. Actually, you talk about insurance. That remind me, sometimes people overlook the flood insurance. The property is in flood zone, but they didn't know to get the flood insurance until the end. So this is something the realtor like you will help the client to help to figure that out, right?
Yeah, I mean, so there's certain disclosure obligations that the seller has to provide, and one of the obligations is to let the buyer know if they fall in one of 6 possible hazard zones. And 2 of them involves water. One is a special flood zone, which is like a once in a 100-year flood area. Dam inundation, fire, especially in a high fire zone, liquefaction, fault zone, and I forgot the 6th one, the top of my head, but you get a form telling exactly what are the 6.
Right.
And the one that's usually the biggest concern that buyers are that they have to get insurance most likely is fire insurance, is home insurance, and home insurance is going to be linked with fire, and flood insurance. That's an additional coverage on top of your insurance for flood zone. So because that's a different type of insurance that covers a home. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. So our listeners, you should work with professionals like Clarence so that you don't overlook those details.
Yeah. And luckily in Santa Clara County and most of the Bay Area, sellers do provide disclosures up front. That makes it easier for a buyer to see if you are in a potential flood zone, fire zone. It becomes a little dicey in certain parts of the state where they don't provide that up front. They'll provide it once you have an offer. And sometimes if you don't have those contingencies in place, and you could be in trouble. So
yes, thanks for sharing.
yeah. So and so anyway, with especially talk about fires and floods, natural hazard has we've been hit a lot of bad weather in the last couple of months, and there's been reports that certain counties in the state are going to be having a extension in terms of their tax filings to October.
Right.
So it depends. By the way, it depends. I think it depends county by county. I think you need to double check with your CPA. But in terms of your taxes, I believe your taxes are being utilized to help you determine your qualifications. Does it benefit a buyer to file their taxes immediately, or should they, take advantage of the extension to October? So what's your thoughts about that?
Right. So it's thank you for the information that the tax deadline has been extended. But for borrowers who want to apply for mortgage, it depends on if you're W-2 borrowers or if you're 1099 borrowers. So if you're W-2 borrowers where your income solely from salary, then when you are going to file tax return may not directly impact you as much as people who rely on 1099 income, because how they file on your tax return determines your qualification. So I would say for people who are self-employed and they make more income in 2022, then definitely you should file your tax return faster, because we can use your 2022 tax return to qualify for your loan application. But for self-employed borrowers, you think your income may be less in 2021, then we should discuss like when you want to file your tax return, so we can help you to qualify based on your situation. So
Yeah.
thanks for that great question.
Okay. By the way, is the talking taxes mean, in the future for potential home buyers, maybe not this year, maybe down the road, since your tax forms are being utilized to figure out your qualification, what should a potential borrower be able to needs to be aware about when they file their taxes, and from a loan officer's perspective?
Right. So I have to have a disclaimer since I'm not a CPA, so I'm not giving tax advices. But loan perspective, if you have concerns, especially for self-employed people or people who have a separate business, or they have rental properties, royalties that may affect their income on tax return, definitely we should have a talk and with your tax preparer or CPA, so we can plan for the future. So, and then you can also know what you need to be aware of when you file your income or expenses, that it wouldn't affect your loan qualification. So it's definitely time to plan. And then again, also I'm not CPA. I'm very happy to sit with the borrower and let them know what our lenders look for, so they can prepare for that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I actually don't have more questions from my clients right now, but I think we have a good start for before the spring.
Yeah.
Hopefully
The
our clients can benefit from our talk and get ready for their home buying.
Yeah, I mean, this is this we're entering the spring buying season. It's going to be probably when there's a lot of activity right now, where you have a lot of buyers going out there. You're going to see slowly more homes coming on the market. The next bump we're going to see in terms of inventory and activities could probably be in the fall. So you might as well take advantage now. This is a good time. It's trying to get something before June or before July can help the timing, especially if you are trying to time for school for the kids, that you are able to you want to move into something so that you can have your kids move into new school, or whatever or life-changing event happening after the summer. So this is, usually this is a good time to start taking a look and see what's available out there.
Yeah, definitely. And for whoever missed our talk today, join us next month, every second Thursday.
Yeah, at 6 p.m. So
Yes.
okay.
All right,
All right
thank you,
then.
Clarence.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.